All right, guys, welcome back to Truth Trackers. I hope you're ready for week 24. We have some new and exciting challenges for you tonight. I hope you're ready for some more wackiness and craziness. But for right now, we're going to talk about how this week we're focusing on learning a special truth. The truth is that I can receive heavenly rewards for enduring trials with a good attitude. That's kind of a big topic for younger children, so we'll see if we can break it down in some ways that maybe you guys can understand. I know all of you remember from our past few lessons that God uses trials in our life to teach us, okay? And everybody goes through trials. We've talked about that, how everybody has difficulties and special circumstances that we face, but God uses those for His glory, right? It's part of His plan that we learn lessons from the trials that we face. Then we might learn patience, or we might learn sympathy or compassion. But God uses the special circumstances in our lives to teach us things. And it's our job to make sure we're looking for the lesson that He gives us through each trial that we face. We might face a trial of needs, or face a trial of suffering or fear. All of those can be used for God's glory. So this week we're going to see that God rewards us when we go through hard times, and that we have to do it with the right attitude, okay? You're not going to be rewarded if you go through a difficult time and you grumble and complain the whole time and you don't trust God, right? That's the biggest part of it. You have to trust God along the way. So there are rewards that we look forward to when we get to heaven. They are greater than any praise or pleasure that we can have here on earth. Okay, so to start things off tonight, we are going to have a song by three of my kids. Brady, Evan, and Ferris are going to sing Be a Missionary. Now, mind you, the second verse of this is a little bit crazy, and I don't want it to be thought irreverent, okay? We understand that missionaries face some really special circumstances in their fields, especially if they're somewhere exotic or really foreign. So please just understand that this is tongue-in-cheek and that we love you all, and that we're praying for you, okay? So enjoy Be a Missionary.
Be a missionary every day. Tell the world that Jesus is the way. Be it in a town or country or a busy avenue, Africa or Asia, the task is up to you. So be a missionary every day. Tell the world that Jesus is the way. The Lord is soon returning, there is no time to lose. So be a missionary, God's own emissary. Be a missionary today. Let's go! Be a missionary every day. Eat whatever food may come your way. Be it spiders in your cornflakes or roaches in your Coke. Don't let it bug you, just eat it till you choke. So be a missionary every day. Eat whatever food may come your way. It may be warm and fuzzy and maybe it still moves, but you don't need a skillet. Do it till you kill it. Be a missionary today. Let's eat.
Okay, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that fun song. Again, play it over and over again till you learn the words. It's a really funny one. But also make sure you let us know your requests so that we know what to sing for next week. We have a hard time coming up with songs, so we hope that you guys can help us out with that. Now it's time for story time. So gather around, get your snuggly blankets and your teddy bear, and we can all listen to a story, okay? This one's a little bit different this week, but I hope you'll enjoy it. So this story starts out like this. Ready? Receive. Receive. Nope. I'm afraid that's not right, honey, Janet's mom stated. Remember, I before E except after C. It's so simple. Why can't I remember that? Janet exclaimed. Well, dear, we've been studying for over an hour. Maybe your brain is just tired. Let's pick it up again in the morning. But, Mom, the spelling bee is tomorrow night. This is my last chance to cram it all in. Well, if you don't get some sleep, you might snooze through the entire spelling bee, her mom joked. I think you need some rest. Janet had been studying for the spelling bee for months. She had seen the National Spelling Bee on ESPN the year before and was mesmerized, which she could spell, by the way. She had made it her singular goal to make it to the National Spelling Bee the next year. If she won her school bee, then she would get to go to the regional competition, and she would receive a trip to Washington, D.C., the spot of the national championship. She had studied at least an hour every night. She had taken books of words with her on summer vacation. She had note cards placed everywhere around her house. She had even studied some foreign words, knowing that sometimes in the more challenging rounds, the foreign words could appear. Janet had dedicated nearly all of her energy to spelling. Janet's friends couldn't understand. "Don't you ever get tired of words? They would question. And to be sure, there were times when Janet did get sick of words. But every time she was tempted to quit, she would picture herself there on that stage in front of the TV cameras, spelling the clinching word and claiming the prize of national champion. Janet breezed through the spelling bee. Many of the other students had brushed off the contest. She breezed through the school spelling bee, sorry. Many of the other students had brushed off the contest, so they weren't prepared like Janet was. One boy in the grade above Janet gave her a run for her money, but when the contest moved to the advanced round, Janet blew him away. A few weeks later, Janet found herself standing on a stage at a local auditorium. Dozens of students surrounded her in row after row of folding chairs. Janet nervously wondered whether she had what it took to compete with the other spellers. But she calmly closed her eyes and thought of standing on a much bigger stage, the National Spelling Bee. Just making it to the Washington, D.C. stage would be a big enough prize. She had put in the hard work, and now it was time to see if it all paid off. As the hands of the clock moved slowly on, student after student began to drop out. But before Janet knew it, she was standing before the microphone with only one other student. Again, Janet closed her eyes and pictured herself on the biggest stage of all. She pictured herself touring Washington with her family. She pictured her parents' beaming faces as she took the top prize. "Meringue," the judge called out. "Your word is meringue." Janet couldn't believe it. Normally, she would have freaked out at such a word, but this time she was confident as could be. Not only had she studied the word, but she had made a lemon meringue pie with her mom the week before. They had both laughed as she studied the word over and over again as they followed the recipe. Calmly, Janet spoke. "Meringue. Meringue." "That is correct," replied the judge. Janet couldn't believe it. By spelling the word meringue, she had won the regional spelling bee and was on her way to Washington, D.C. Janet's family went out for a special dinner that night, complete with ice cream for dessert. When Janet arrived at the school the next week, her friends were filled with excitement and maybe just a touch of jealousy. They all wondered how she felt when the judge signaled that she had spelled the word correctly. Of course, she told them she was amazed, excited, overwhelmed, and a million other emotions. A few months later, Janet stood on the stage at the National Spelling Bee. She lasted several rounds before a miss, but the experience was beyond what she could have possibly imagined. You could never convince Janet that the hours, days, weeks, and months of studying were a waste. The reward was worth it all. I hope you enjoyed the picture I included here for you to see of the actual National Spelling Bee. I think that's a pretty cool shot of somebody winning. They got a huge trophy. Do you see that? That's pretty special. It's neat to get a reward, isn't it? Okay, that was our story time. If we were together, I'd have some really good questions for you, but we aren't. So we're going to move on to crazy game time. I hope you guys are ready for this. We did something a little bit different. If you remember a few weeks ago, before the boys did their crazy ice cream sundaes, we had a little bit of a blind taste test for them with some candy. So I thought we'd do a remix of that tonight, okay? So they didn't know what they were getting themselves into, but I gave them 6 different Oreos to try, all different flavors, okay? And even my husband is in on this. So we're going to keep score and see who gets the most flavors correct. And you can watch that right now. So we're doing a blind taste challenge today. And these guys don't know what they're getting into, but I have promised them that it's something they like. I'm going to give them a little bit of a hint right now and explain that I am going to do 6 rounds. And they are all Oreos.
Yum.
All name brand Oreos too. I'm not giving you any like twist and shouts or anything weird like that, okay? So they are all real Oreos. They are all different flavors of real Oreos though. So you're going to each taste them, and then tell me what flavor you think you got. So you're blindfolded because I don't want you to have the hint of color.
Cool.
Okay?
They're Oreos.
One of these days we need to do one of these and we need to have beef jerky on
Okay.
Ooh.
What? No, not on the
Beef
Oreos.
jerky Oreos.
Right.
It's my plate here.
Do I eat
Okay.
it now?
Here, hold on.
Okay, but
All right.
I'll just keep it in my hand.
This is round 1. Go. Mr. Schrott gets to guess first this time.
All right. Well, I guess I'll go first.
I'm pretty sure she's talking
You're
to
all
me.
Mr. Schrott.
Definitely going s'mores with that one.
Okay, that's your guess. Connor, do you have a guess?
Birthday cake. I don't know.
No. I mean, that could be a guess.
She choked.
Andy,
I was gonna go with s'mores as well.
Brady.
I don't know if this would be a specific flavor, but I'm going with the Easter ones that are like yellow filling.
Those look actually pretty good.
I mean, we had them, so
I'm going with that.
Okay.
I know the smell.
Round 2.
These are off brand.
2. They are not off brand.
Oh, I know what this is just by smelling it.
That smells good.
Okay, Connor gets to choose
Oh.
first today. For round 2.
I'm gonna say butterscotch.
Whoa, that's a dog. What's up?
Okay, Andy, what's your guess?
Coffee.
Brady, what's your guess?
I'm gonna go with s'more. I know, but that's
Nate, what's your guess?
that's what it felt like.
It tasted like a cheesecake to me.
I can kind of see that.
Round 3. Okay, so round 3, Andy gets the first guess. Andy, give us your best educated guess, and I will tell you it is not dirt flavored.
You know what? I'm gonna double down. I'm gonna say coffee again because that's the closest thing I can
Brady?
Coffee.
Nate?
Double chocolate.
Yeah.
Connor?
Fudge.
I didn't know that was an option.
I know.
Fudge.
but I don't know.
I know what.
Okay, we are now beginning round 4.
Oh.
I know what this is.
Okay, Brady, you get first guess this time.
I'm gonna go with red velvet.
What?
I know.
Nate?
You said red velvet?
Yeah, I know.
What?
This is weird.
Kind of has a. I'm gonna go with coconut.
No, nope. Not seeing it.
Connor?
I'm gonna say peanut butter.
No.
I'm going with toffee.
I don't know how you make a peanut butter into a cream.
Okay, that
so
is the
it
end of
wouldn't
round
taste a lot
4.
like peanut butter, I would assume.
This is round 5.
I love this.
Oh wow.
We're going to let Connor have first dibs again this time. Okay, Connor, do you have a guess yet?
Yeah.
What is your guess?
Cinnamon.
Okay. Andrew?
Spice cake.
Braden?
Cinnamon roll.
Oh,
Nathan?
Cinnamon roll.
dang. That makes sense too.
Round 6, Brady's gonna, they're all gonna guess before they taste it based on smell alone. So Brady, what do you think it is based on smell alone?
Peanut butter.
Andy?
Peanut butter.
Connor?
Peanut butter.
Peanut
Nate?
butter.
Okay, everybody taste it now.
I already. It reminds me of another butter.
This tastes kind of nutty.
With some oil. and goes with like an oil under.
It tastes like peanuts, like
Smush.
a peanut puree.
Mixed with a special kind of butter.
Right.
No, like with a
Like
peanut,
an oil. Like
Yeah.
a peanut oil.
Yeah, peanut puree with like a little bit
Yeah,
of oil.
it tastes
in
like something you would
like
eat
salt.
off of like a. Like you would mix with jelly and it would make it like
I
really
know.
good.
That would make a good sandwich.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, does anybody want to change
No.
their guess now that you've tasted it?
No.
That's
This is
definitely
more
peanut
nutter butter.
I want to change.
It
I
tastes
wanna
like
go-
nutter butter. So it's either peanut butter or it's nutter butter.
I want to go with peanut butter Oreo.
Yeah, definitely
Yeah,
a
the
peanut butter
Oreo
Oreo.
wafer is not
Yeah.
chocolate.
Yeah.
There's peanut
that's,
butter.
Yeah.
Peanut butter.
Okay, there's going to be a
Oh my God.
reward for the person who got the best
You didn't tell me that.
number of guesses.
That's so much better.
And I'm going to tell you that
You didn't tell me that, I would have tried.
some of you were close, so I was giving half points. Okay?
Oh.
Oh, okay.
So, round one was chocolate marshmallow. Not s'more, but chocolate marshmallow.
So I got half points.
So,
Nate
yeah,
and Andy each got a half
so yellow
point.
Easter was close.
What did I say in my guess?
Yellow
Easter was
Easter
not
was
close.
close.
Round two, nobody got, and
What
it
was
was birthday cake.
Oh, that's the
God.
one. That was the one I said on the first one.
Yeah,
You
he said
changed it.
birthday
Oh, what did I say on
We
this
said
one?
I
coffee.
remember.
I said coffee? Oh.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and the third
Round
one I said
three
coffee too.
was dark chocolate.
So
Dark
chocolate fudge or double chocolate
So I
would be
gave
similar.
half points for double fudge and dark for
double chocolate and just
fudge.
fudge.
Round three, Nate gets a half point because he said coconut, but it was actually coconut caramel.
Oh.
Come on, and you almost said salted caramel. That was close.
Carrot cake was round four, so
Ah,
I gave
we
Andy a
said
half
that.
point
Right.
for spice cake.
Ah, let's go!
You said
Spice
cake.
cake was close. And round six was peanut butter.
Hey, I
So,
got it,
So bad one.
coming in first place with two
Hey.
and a half points was Nate.
I would like to say, I would like, I asked that
It's not
I get
shiny.
the money since that is technically
Yeah, if I
also
shiny
his
that-
money
Instead,
already. So if
Andy,
you really
gets-
want it to be a prize,
Andy would have gotten second place with
You
2
earned it
points.
back.
Brady came in last place with
Oh,
1
really?
point.
You
and Connor
are
had
doing
1.5.
Something. Woo!
Nice job, guys.
I didn't
All right.
get last.
So make sure you comment or like it if you enjoyed this challenge. I have another idea for a similar one.
put down beef jerky flavors.
Yes, please.
No.
Beef jerky
So
flavors.
comment with your
Flavor.
ideas. What?
Gummy bear flavors.
Ooh, gummy bear flavors would be a good one too.
Yeah.
Beef jerky flavors.
Beef jerky.
Okay, was that game time kind of fun? That was silly, but it was a neat challenge for them. It was fun to watch their faces too. And Mr. Schrock got the reward. Who knew, huh? That was kind of fun to see. I kind of thought Andy would do it because he's really picky and has a very discerning tongue, but that's all right. Okay, so now we're going to move on to verse work. Everybody's been working on their verses, I hope. Some of you have sent me videos. I hope you keep doing that. I think that's awesome that you're still working on it. So we're going to start with tiny trackers. Okay, so I need Anna and Chloe and Misha, Jacob and Nolan and Lexi and Elena and Lewis. I think that's all of you. I'm going to just have you stand up tonight. I'm not going to make you do anything too crazy, but I want you to do this. See if you can do this. This is a really tough challenge. Stand on 2 feet. Okay? If you can stand on 2 feet, I want you to work on your verses with me tonight. Here we go. So we're going to start with week 24, which is your new verse for this week. Okay, so we're going to say it together. Ready? Revelation 2:10. I will give thee a crown of life. Revelation 2:10. Good job. We're going to do last week's verse also. Ready? Psalm 20, verse 7. Remember the name of the Lord our God. Psalm 20, verse 7. I bet you're tired from standing on 2 feet. Okay, you guys can sit down. Good job. All right, we're going to move on to the scripture spies. Okay, so we need Caden and Caleb and Leah and Marissa and Ian and Kendall. Okay, you guys are going to get a little more of a challenge tonight. I want you to stand on 1 foot. Okay, so see if you can stand on 1 foot and recite your verses with me tonight. Ready? Revelation 2:10. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. Revelation 2:10. Okay, and week 23's review verse is Psalm 20, verse 7. Some trust in chariots, and some in horses, but I will remember the name of the Lord our God. Psalm 20, verse 7. Hey, good job, guys. You guys are doing really well with these. I know you can do them. Okay, big kids, let's go faith force. All right, so we need Isabella, Caleb, Grayson, Anna, and Mary. You guys stand up. Okay, I'm going to make it harder for you. I want you to stand on your heads. I'm just kidding. You don't have to stand on your heads. You can do whatever you want, but you got to say your verses with me. Ready? James 1:12. Blessed is the man that endureth temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which the Lord hath promised to them that love him. James 1:12. That's a long one. You guys are doing really well. Another long one from last week, though, right? Week 23 is Isaiah 26, 3 and 4. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusteth in thee. Trust ye in the Lord forever, for in the Lord Jehovah is everlasting strength. Isaiah 26, 3 and 4. Those were big ones for you guys. I hope you guys are working hard on those. Okay, that is all for verse work, but keep doing your devotions too. Let's move on to the lesson. Are you guys ready to settle down and listen to the lesson now? This one's not very long, but I hope you can put on your listening ears. And here we go, okay? So being the Son of God did not exempt Jesus from facing trials. You guys have studied that with me in the past about how Jesus, in the book of Matthew, talks about how he faced hunger and rejection, and also in persecution. We learn about that in the book of John. And he was persecuted even before he went to the cross, right? But certainly being on the cross was the ultimate trial for Jesus. There he bore unbelievable pain in addition to bearing the wrath of God against the sin of the world. And the sins of mankind were certainly on his mind when he was there on the cross. Hebrews 12:2 tells us that it was the joy that was set before him that allowed Jesus to endure the cross. So that means that he had that mindset that he was focusing on his eternal rewards while he was enduring such physical pain here on earth. Eternal rewards gave Jesus hope in God when facing the cross, and the eternal rewards that God had promised to him also give us hope in times of trials, right? So God tells us that we will receive we will receive rewards when we face trials with the right attitude, just like Jesus, right? Another example is the Apostle Paul, who, when he neared the end of his ministry, he wrote letters to his son of the faith, is what he called Timothy. And that book, or that letter, is what we now call the book of the Bible, 2 Timothy. So that was actually a letter from Paul to Timothy. And near the end of it, Paul spoke of having fought a good fight and having kept the faith. So he says he finished his course, or also he called it the race, okay? Not that Paul's fight or race had been easy. In 2 Corinthians chapter 11, there's a whole catalog of the trials he faced. We talked about that a couple months ago in Truth Trackers. And remember, we wrote a list of all the things that he faced. There was lots of things. He had physical ailments, and he faced jail time and all kinds of stuff. But Paul definitely knew what trials were about. Paul knew that in eternity and glory waited for him. And he believed that a crown of righteousness was laid up for him because he had been faithful through his trials. That's from 2 Timothy 4:8. And even as he ran his race, Paul said that he pressed toward the mark for the prize of the high calling of God in Christ Jesus. That's from Philippians 3:14. That's a really good verse to memorize too. But Paul found hope in times of trial because he believed God would give him heavenly rewards, right? So the key that we need to remember during those times is that we have to remain faithful, and we have to trust God and look for what he's teaching us during those times. It's not enough to just make it through the trial, but you have to be faithful to God and trust his leading. Okay, so that gets us to the end of what we had for our lesson tonight, but we're going to recap for what we need to do for next week. Again, we need to make sure we're praying for our church and for the leaders around us. We're definitely hoping that we can start meeting again soon. We definitely miss all of you. Can't wait to be all together again. This is so much more fun when all of you are around. So hopefully we can do that soon, but be praying that this coronavirus will slow down and that we will be able to meet together again soon. Also, make sure you're doing your devotions. You should be finishing or be working on week 25 for the week that we're facing ahead of us. So make sure you're doing those every day. It doesn't take long if you do them every day. And then work on your memory verses. So next week you'll work on week 25 and week 24 as your review. So that's what you're supposed to be working on. Again, we'll set a time for store night when we get back together. And we also have a crazy hair and hat night coming up. So I'm not sure when that's going to be yet because we'll move it according to what times we have available. But be thinking about different crazy ways you can do your hair. Okay? Because I think some of you, I remember some of you doing some crazy things in the past, Caleb, Caden. So it's going to be really hard for you guys to beat those. So see what you can be thinking of for crazy hair and hat night and be looking forward to store night and definitely looking forward to getting back together so we can all spend time together. So I will be praying for each of you. Make sure you guys are staying in your devotions and working on your memory verses, and we will see you next week. Okay? Bye-bye.